going on to outreach, is it worth tailoring and localizing pitch and press release for every single country? Yes, yes, yes. Sí, claro, tac, whatever language you want to say it in. Yes, it would be, I think, to give you like a relatable example, if you're working in the UK and you want to do regional outreach, you wouldn't send data about Scotland in Yorkshire, same way that in France, journalists are not expecting to get UK data most of the time, unless it's something really surprising or outstanding data. What a journalist wants is what is interesting for him and his audience. If you're going to go to a national French journalist, they're going to expect at least part of your pitch to be about France or with French data, or have a link to France in some way. And I'm coming back to paycheck here, that I mentioned before. So when I started going out to French journalists, I had a very specific email, even though it was a global campaign. My subject line was about the French president. He earns 5 times the average French salary. So my subject line was French specific. And this is why journalists were interested in it, because they actually had something for their audience, which was a French audience. So they were obviously interested in the fact that the Queen is the most paid monarch, but they needed some French data. And see, that's why also I did a whole paragraph in my pitch just about France. And this is what just took the pitch to the next level of like giving really interesting stuff, and bringing a lot of interest. And I did the same for Australia. It's in the headline. I highlighted stuff that was about the country, even in like global comparison, and then just did like make sure that Australia was coming up quite often. In this one, it was a bit easier than France, because obviously the Australian Prime Minister was paid a lot. So it was just a good pitch for this campaign. But if you don't, then if for example your country like France doesn't stand out, well, that is the moment to make it very specific. And 2 takeaways from me that I think will be very useful, and that I've learned with time. I've definitely used your outreach knowledge from working in the UK to find new approaches in other countries, because you have all this really valuable experience of finding the contacts, of drafting your pitch, of your press release. And so really use all this background you've had. Don't think it's because you're working in another country that it's a completely different approach. Things are going to change. However, the intention is the same, and I think you shouldn't forget about everything you've done before. And important as well, trying different approaches for every market, and because also every client is different. Sometimes in the UK you have a different approach between 2 clients, just because they expect different things. So definitely do, or brand if you're in-house as well, try different approaches and see which one works the best for you. And sometimes it might mean that you fail once, but then you learn from it. And I just wanted to give you a quick example of a campaign that you can translate, or you can outreach in English, but just with a translating template. So for example, if you have a very good pitch, this campaign looked at trainers from the most valuable trainers, around the world. And, these are trainers that everyone in the world knows about, like everyone knows Kanye West. So what we did is we used that template for the first market for the client, which was UK and US, but then we translated it in French, because this is something that was interesting to French journalists. So kept the English campaign, but we outreached it with the French template, linking to an English website, and there was no problem, because the data was interesting and journalists had all the information they needed, and they didn't necessarily need translation for it. Only thing is, if you do this, there are prices, there are wording that are changing. So if you have prices, don't forget to change the currency to change sneakers for trainers, UK, US, you know, all these things. Just make sure that you have like a bit of thinking into details in those campaigns.